Hey, welcome back to the State of Love and Trust. It's episode 283, and this week we are talking about Soundgarden, baby. We're celebrating the boys getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, finally, with friend of the show and King Ultramega founder, Mark Menghi. We're going to talk about the newest King Ultramega track, The Day I Tried to Live, featuring Kim Thayil. And we're going to pick our 5 tentpole Soundgarden songs, the Mount Rushmore, if you will. +1. It's all next on the State of Love and Trust.
Hey, I'm Mike McCready from Pearl Jam.
Hey kids, this is Mark Arm from Mudhoney.
I'm Kevin Martin from Candlebox.
Hi, I'm Dave Cruzen.
I'm Tim Montana.
Hey, I'm James Joseph from James and the Cold Gun.
I am Matt Vaughn from Easy Street Records.
This is Richard Stuveroot. And this is the State of Love and Trust.
The State of Love and Trust.
The State of Love and Trust.
Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. Feed that algorithm.
Welcome to another episode of the State of Love and Trust. It's a Pearl Jam podcast, and I'm one of your 2 hosts, Jason Kerepesi, and alongside me, as always, is
Paul Ghiglieri.
Woo! Paul, I am so excited. I don't know why I'm doing the Trump dance, but it's not his week.
Yeah, don't do that, Dance.
but I'm feeling good. And it's not because of politics, it's because of Soundgarden just got in to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Praise the Lord. Praise the rock gods, Paul.
Salut.
Woo.
Well-deserved honor.
Absolutely. If you're watching here on YouTube and you like this kind of stuff, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. Really do appreciate that. And if listening only, Paul, what should they do?
You're going to rate, you're going to review, and hopefully you're going to subscribe on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Feed that algorithm or till that algorithmic soil, whatever it is you do this time of year. 'Tis the harvest season.
Get your ox. Get your, what are those
Pull
rubber
that plow.
things?
Meat plow.
Meat plow.
And play Stone Temple Pilots Meat Plow while you are...
Wrong band for the day. But you know what? Hey, listen. We've got all kinds of links in the description of this video. You know how this thing goes. We got our fundraiser of the month. It's St. Jude Children's Hospital. How many fundraisers are better than that? $5 or more. You get the stickers. You get the pins. You get the guitar picks. The biggest donator gets this bad boy signed by the author, by Selena Fergasi. So Pearl Jam Live, this is yours. If you have the biggest donation to St. Jude, we've got the pod shop down below. Get some cool threads or drinkware or whatever. And if you're a patron, you might win this. It's Riot Act. It's on vinyl. It's courtesy of one of our patrons. So thank you, Erica, for donating this. Not this exact one, but one like this. This is my copy. You can't have this. But random patron gets that just for being a patron this month of November. But Paul, there is so much to talk about that's not Soundgarden. I'm sorry, that's not Pearl Jam related. It is Soundgarden related. I got so excited, I flipped the script in my own head. We have brought on, I mean, at this point, one of the fans of the band and of Chris Cornell to talk about what we think are the 5 most significant songs in the Soundgarden catalog.
Well, I'm going to take this a step further. Yes,
Please do.
Yes, he is a fan, but I would also consider him the foremost tributary or the foremost patron who pays honor to the great sound of Soundgarden, as we will get into momentarily. Because there's a difference between being a fan and then like manifesting that love and appreciation of that music into art in and of itself. And so I think that's an important distinction.
Curator, musician, documentarian of sorts, archivist in some kind of way.
Oh.
He's back on the show. He plays the 4-string thing in Metal Allegiance. Look at that. There he is. It's Mark Menghi.
What's up, fellas? Thank you. How's it going?
It's going well, man. It's a pleasure. And I asked this to you before we went on air, but one of the things that has really been amping me up is this guy right here. This guy right here. Compliments. Nice. Compliments. This thing rips, so I highly recommend those of you at home get after it and spin that bad boy. You're going to love it. Jason, look at that. That's it. That's the poster.
This is it, baby. January. And look at that beautiful note that Mark gave me.
I know. I appreciated the note and the cassette tape.
Yes, sir. Awesome. I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Menghi the Mensch, huh? How about that?
We're very lucky because we have another new King Ultramega song. And Mark, you were teasing this one out. Finally, we have the one with Thayil himself on it. The Day I Tried to Live.
Yep.
He's on guitars. Alissa White-Gluz is from Arch Enemy on the vocals. You on the bass. Charlie Benante on the skins. But here, something that was cool that you mentioned to me about the guitar tracks with Kim was what?
There's a few things that's cool about this. Number one, he hasn't played the song since being in Soundgarden. Number one.
Wow.
Number two, he recorded all of Chris's guitar parts. So he had to learn, which he never knew. He had to learn Chris's guitar parts, his recorded studio parts that he had to go in the studio and record that. So in addition to what he contributed on the song as well. So I remember going back and forth with him during the recording sessions, and it was, I don't want to say it was cathartic, but it was more like, this is deep shit, man. Because again, here's a dude that co-created the band, with Chris. Kim and Chris essentially are founders of Soundgarden, with Hero, of course, too. Yeah. Going back into time now to re-record a Soundgarden song for this project, for King Ultramega. So it's fucking surreal shit.
It sure is,
to say the least. And and when I went in to record, I knew Kim was doing the song. Charlie, I don't know if you remember when we spoke, I said I made Charlie record all these drum tracks, just cause this was one of them. And when I pitched it to Kim, and when he agreed to do it, I was like, "Fuck, all right, this is when it's real now." And here we are, four releases later. When we last spoke, it was Rusty Cage, which to me was kind of old because we put that out in 2020.
Right. Yeah.
We did a few things, but now Be Yourself, Say Hello to Heaven, and now The Day I Tried to Live, and more coming. Like I told you, they're coming.
I kind of set my watch to it, Mark. I kind of know when in the beginning of the month is happening because there's a new King Ultramega song. It's like, the beginning of September, I get to hear Joe Satriani do Be Yourself. Oh, it's the beginning of October, I get to hear Richie Kotzen do guitar and vocals on Say Hello to Heaven.
Say Hello to Heaven. That was not supposed to happen in October.
Why?
That was not supposed to happen. I'm the one who kind of fuck some things up to put that in there. That song was, the whole thing didn't come about until July of this year.
Right.
I was looking at my little recording chart, Say Hello to Heaven. All the tracks are recorded. Well, drums and bass are done. And it was like, who the fuck is going to sing this? Like, this is not an easy task. And I haven't spoke to Richie and it's been probably about 5 years since I spoke to him. And I texted him, and I'm like, dude, is this still you? And he's like, it's me. Is this still you?
This shot in the dark text.
Right. And then he called me, and he just called me, and it was, caught up, family, all that stuff. And then I was like, listen, this is what I'm doing. This is what it is. And before I even finished, he said, I'm in. And then he told me about his sister who committed suicide a few years ago. And then what we're doing, and how we're raising all these funds. And 2 days later, he had the tracks back. 3 days later, it was mixed. Literally, this all happened within like 4 days.
That's wild.
Almost done, complete, done. And that's when I went to the label and I said, "Wait, guess what? This is. I can't sit on this for fucking 6, 7, 8 months. It just can't happen." And to me, it was that good just to hearing the way Richie sang that and the way he played guitar on it, and we essentially turned it into like a soul song, if you will, R&B soul. There
was a great response to that online. All the clips that you guys were putting out, and the label, and him himself. I think he had a video that was kind of more sewed on him, and his parts that he put out, and it's like people are like, what? He's obviously, again, as we say, no one can do Chris, but he's doing his best tribute of Chris in his own way, and it's still fucking crushed.
Yeah, it was. I remember I was sitting right where the exact spot I'm in right now. I have my speakers and everything facing me. And when he sent that song back, and I was just sitting here, just kind of back here listening, and I was like, "What the fuck is going? Whoa!" And then I was like, "What?" See, I was like, "Is this fucking dude for real?" And then I'm just hearing these licks on guitar, and I'm like, "This is unbelievable." And this is unmixed. Then we sent it to Josh. Josh did what Josh does, and what you hear, and that was supposed to come out next year. That was supposed to be the lead track next year. There was supposed to be a little bit of an October break between Be Yourself and The Day I Tried to Live. And I was like, no. There's no break. And I had something else I'm working on, musical recording, that was supposed to come out in October that I shelved, which is my music. And I was like, no, that could wait. My music could wait. And that's how much that song meant to me. And
Cool.
It's powerful.
And then here we are with The Day I Tried to Live, which to me, again, is old because that was recorded by everybody, including Kim and Alissa, in 2021.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Wow. That must have been so weird for Kim. We've seen in the interviews with Matt and Kim talking about this as yet to be released final Soundgarden record, and how it's like it's a bittersweet thing. You hear Chris's isolated vocals and it brings you back, and it's like I have to imagine there's a degree of that from Kim's perspective, having to go back and listen to isolated guitar tracks of Chris's, and he could probably remember where he was watching Chris doing it in the studio, and then memories and yada yada yada.
Well, that's what Kim. That's, if you remember, we spoke about how Kim and I would speak a lot about studio time and writing, and this is it. He would tell me these stories of, man, we were doing this when this is how we were recording this, and this part for the song, and then I never understood how Chris played this one certain part of the song where he had to really go in, and he brought up the actual recording of that song. So we were going back and forth, and even for me to record that, knowing what he was putting into it, knowing I was back and forth with him on this, knowing all that was going on, it was like, it's deep. And even up until recently where he had to answer, he's been awesome, where we sent him or the label sent him a slew of questions to answer on the song, for press and promo and PR, all the, just all that, that stuff. And it's not like he didn't do it. He kind of stalled doing it because some of these questions were pretty deep, and it's hard to reflect back on that, going that this is one of my songs that I re-recorded and he's not here. It was, the whole thing has been definitely a personal experience for him. And we've had many of conversations, up until, last night we spoke again, and this is a busy week for him. And, he's amped up. He was amped up for the song, even to the record that came out, this 2-song vinyl that we got.
Can you buy that now, or when's the purchase date for that bad boy?
Now,
for different options. Now it's available now.
Right,
it's available now. Go get it.
And he was so into this that it's available on the Soundgarden website.
Wow.
Which is huge. I mean, that tells you how invested into this project he is, even so much that he had his hand in designing this.
Amazing.
Cool.
So, which is awesome. And
you said, I think you told me that there's 4 different color variants of that bad boy, and we're going to link to all of the shops below in the description. So if you want magenta or purple or gold, or whatever the other one is, people can go and peruse and find which one they want. But how cool is it the Soundgarden website's doing it?
Soundgarden website's carrying it. I'm not sure which color they're getting. Obviously one of them, King Ultramega, and then the record labels store, the US store and the European store. I think I can't remember, but I think this one I have right here, the magenta, is
Can you pull it out? Show the good people what we got working with this.
I believe this is the European.
Uh-oh. Someone's going to be collecting and calling their European friends. It's gorgeous.
Yep. So this is pretty fucking cool, man. This is
And that's Rusty Cage and The Day I Tried to Live, right?
That's it. So it's just Rusty Cage and The Day I Tried to Live. We were going back and forth on putting Be Yourself on it, but we wanted to keep this exclusive. Just this. This is a special one-off. It's only 800. I think there's only 800 copies total.
800 pressing. Wow.
Rest. We kept it super small. We wanted it to celebrate them getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's kind of like a cool little, gift, if you will, for the fans. And again, 100% of the proceeds going to
Music Cares.
Right
there it is.
There it is.
Love it.
So it's our way of giving back and again trying to help.
Yeah, and you're not profiting off this. You're not taking a dime.
No.
Yep.
It's amazing how much work I put into this project, right? And it's like, man, and I love every minute of it, and I wouldn't trade it back for anything. I love it, and there's a lot more work that's going to be going into it. And
it's not work if you love it, though, Mark.
I love it, and recording all this music, and like I said, there's a lot more music coming.
Yeah,
there's a slew of songs coming, and we're four deep. The challenge is one up in the next. It's it's getting now. We're getting to
the gauntlet has been laid.
It's hard, dude. And speaking of, I mean, obviously you're raising the level by having Kim actually do the song himself. But I mentioned Alissa, and you sent me the track. I listened to it in my car while I'm driving, and I'm like, motherfucker, Alissa is absolutely murdering this. And this is not an easy song to sing. Not that most Chris Cornell tracks aren't easy to sing, but this one especially has a little bit extra sauce on it. And I'm like, holy shit, dude. Nothing like the Arch Enemy stuff, by the way.
Which was the goal. Alissa's vocal capabilities are amazing. And I've known her for a long time now. She's one of the few quote unquote Metal Allegiance alumni I brought in to this because, number one, I know she's a fucking huge Soundgarden and Chris Cornell fan. We've always had that in common. We've spoke about it for years. We would always share our obsession over the Euphoria Morning record, Chris's solo record. So I knew that's she checked that box. She probably knows more about Cornell's solo music than me. Like, she obsesses over it. So she's a huge Soundgarden fan. Number two, I've had the pleasure of hearing her sing clean on multiple occasions where many people haven't, whether it's rehearsals with MA, we did a cover, an MA song, Life in a Fast Lane. It was called the Fallen Heroes EP. And that short period of time where Lemmy, David Bowie, and Glenn Frey of the Eagles passed away, and we just went to the studio, recorded 3 songs like that, put it out, and she did Life in a Fast Lane. And I was like, wow, listen to that. And that's always stuck in my head going, her clean vocals are amazing. Why? This needs to be showcased. And I think the world is hearing now what Alissa can do. And it was a pleasure working with her on this and kind of going back and forth and, a little bit more here, more of this here, or, try to, stretch it here, just fucking let it go here, don't hold back. So it's, she's awesome. And then Charlie does what, Charlie does. And,
Charlie Bedante can do anything.
Let's
be honest. Who are we kidding here?
Yeah, it's funny, man. Me and Charlie were like becoming the studio bass and drum session guys, right? And which is awesome, though. We have a thing. It works, and everyone kills it on this song.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be in your list of 5 choices here, but we're going to dive into. It's not. Okay, he's already giving it away. He's always tipping his hand. For those listening only, he's shaking his head.
How about this for you?
Okay.
My list of 5 choices are not being covered or played or performed by King Ultramega.
Oh.
Interesting.
So Rusty Cage, not a song either. Not a pick either.
No.
Okay. So the idea, as I said a few minutes ago, was they have so many great songs, but which 5 songs we think are the tentpole Mount Rushmore songs of like, what's the legacy of Soundgarden? What really sticks out that made them who they are? And God, I mean, I was listening to the albums, the discography throughout the last few days, and I could have named probably 15 or 20 that were like easily that were like, so, I mean, God, I was listening to Holy Waters today. God damn, that song's good, but not on the list. Not on the list because it didn't fit the criteria of legacy defining type thing. Just a killer track.
I went into this list more so, at least for me, on a musician standpoint, as far as, this song is when they came into, this was the seed for what was going to come, or this song, and I'll get into my reasons why, but I kind of approached my list not based on popularity, definitely not on popularity, more so on, I believe these songs made Soundgarden what Soundgarden was from a musical standpoint.
I think I definitely had some of that in a mixture of well, we'll get into it. So 5 songs, each of us. Here we go. Mark, you're the guest. What's your, these could be in chronological or they could not be in chronological. Just throw it out there and we'll discuss. What's your first one?
Yeah, I'll list them and then you can probably
one at a time.
All right. So my first one is actually 3 songs, but there's a reason.
You're already breaking the rules.
I'm breaking the rules.
What are you doing?
These 3 songs were on a Deep Six compilation in 1986.
All right.
Mm-hmm. These are the first 3 songs that Chris Cornell did not play drums on.
Mm-hmm.
These were the songs that basically set up Soundgarden, where Chris was away from the drum set. Mm-hmm. He wasn't Chris the drummer who also sang, but it was Chris. Well, Chris is the vocalist now, and Chris's job is to concentrate on the vocals. And if you want, I could break it down into all 3, or I could just give you one. I'll give you one, which is All Your Lies, which is on the Deep Six compilation. Came out in 1986. Yeah, 1986. And, for those that don't know, the 6 were, who was it? Let me think about this.
The 6 bands.
Green River. It was Green River, the Melvins, Human, Skin Yard, Malfunction, who would become Mother Love Bone,
right?
Soundgarden. So to me, that compilation literally changed everything. That compilation with those bands and who were in those bands and what was to come from those bands. So to me, that, you could pick one. I could pick any one of those songs or all 3 of those songs. I could say All Your Lies is probably the one on that. That is, to me, is definitely one of the most significant, just because it set everything up. It set up Chris away from the drums. Chris is now a vocalist. Chris is going to, Scott Sundquist played drums. It was Chris's focus now is singing. So to me, if that doesn't happen, the rest of it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Touche.
Where are you going, Paul?
I'm sticking in the 80s. I'm going to go Hands All Over off of Louder Than Love. For this, for me, when I think of this band, I think of muscular rock, but I also think that you need a song. What's that?
Muscular rock, huh?
Well, I mean, I think that there was a period of time where I think that they were, but a song like this, it showed their roots as kind of more of like conscious driven music. As a song, when you think about Hands All Over, I think it's an early statement on purpose. I think of this song as like being more socially aware than I think a lot of people would have given musicians from that area credit for, especially this particular band. Musically, and this thing's massive, dude. I mean, it's, Chris's voice is like vocally transcendent. It's all over the place. So in terms of like legacy, I think it's tough to kind of pinpoint kind of like where the song comes from, in the sense that when we hear this song, it's like pushing beyond metal and punk roots towards what feels like more of like a progressive, like politically conscious form of songwriting. And I think that was important because you're able to start appreciating that Soundgarden has a range that expands beyond just like sound, beyond just composition. So I think later on, decades later from when this song comes out, you start to appreciate, its message and its tone. I think it helped establish Chris as kind of like this not just like a powerhouse vocalist, which he always was, going back to when he first grabbed the microphone, but someone who could think, someone who was socially conscious and aware, and he was willing to confront perhaps truths that may not be always convenient and were perhaps uncomfortable for some. And I think that when metal is married to consciousness and awareness, and there's like a social consciousness to it, I think that it elevates that sound. And I think for Soundgarden, this was the song that ultimately really does that. Like when you think of a line like "Hands all over coastal waters, the crewmen thank her, then lay down their oily blanket," and you're really starting to think through an environmental lens that you wouldn't expect when you first turn this song on. So I think just the ability to mix social commentary with this kind of music. And what's interesting too, if Mark, you probably know better than I do, a Hero is on this song, right? It was pre-Ben, if memory serves me correct. Yep. So it's great work from him. It's got this like marching militaristic groove, which I think is really cool. That crushing drop D riff from Cam. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff musically happening in the song, but I think in terms of legacy, when I think of a song that really shifted the consciousness of how we perceive this band, this one for me was kind of a hallmark in that regard.
Nice.
I do have a choice that kind of mimics what you were just talking about, Paul. Not quite yet for me though. I'm gonna stay early and I'm gonna go with Hunted Down.
God damn you!
What?
Damn you!
Of course. Is that your next choice?
Well, you may have different reasons. Man. You have. Well, this is great.
We'll one to it. So, I mean, for me, it's pretty simple. It's the first single on Sub Pop. I got the hat on right now to support, and I think it set the tone for those first few years before they kind of jumped to A&M. The major label. Yep. It's lead track on the Screaming Life EP. It was, the hold music. When you called Sub Pop for a minute, like clearly you knew, or clearly Sub Pop knew, and Bruce and Jonathan knew, and there was something happening with this band, and this is the pinnacle moment of that first phase for me of Soundgarden, and it was a statement without even realizing it. It's a massively amazing song musically speaking, and I think you start to see what will become of the band over Ultramega and Louder Than Love. But this is the first moment you go, hold on, what now? Who are these guys? And people in town really caught attention. Like if you didn't have the Deep Six, or if you didn't catch them around town in one of the clubs, but then you heard this, you go, oh, I gotta pay attention to these guys. Yeah. And so for me, this is you said All Your Lies. I mean, you could very easily say either one of these in that instance. I chose Hunted Down, but it's your number 2 choice, so tell me why.
Yeah, this is, again, number 2 choice. It's a fucking awesome song.
Yes,
it's kind of like the blueprint now. Now we're entering the blueprint of what Soundgarden would become, because this was the first song that was recorded with Matt Cameron on drums. It was the first single. It's Matt Cameron's introduction into the band, if you will. They're getting serious, and you're starting to hear a lot of this drops, the groove stuff. You're starting to kind of hear where they're headed on this record, and to me, it's probably the best song. Well, my second favorite song on the record, but that song has elements of what's going to come on Bad Motorfinger.
All right, Paul, what's your second choice?
Well, I'm temporal here. I'm not even messing with timelines. Louder Than Love for me with Hands All Over. That was a transitional moment, I think, when you think about the band. I mean, you're evolving from like this like raw sludge of Ultramega, okay, and then you're moving into the album that Mark's talking about here, Bad Motorfinger, which I think is muscular, but it's very technically ambitious in a lot of ways as a sound too. But I want to jump even further in time. I want to go all the way to Burden in My Hand. So 1996, Down on the Upside.
Wow, okay.
So this song here to me, it's, you remember Hey Joe, right?
Oh,
that song comes out, Hey Joe, and I remember thinking to myself at the time, like it had this like cool, like, Joshua Tree, like Desert Noir feel to it. And, it's about guilt and escape. And I always thought about like, what is it? That film based off of a book, with Johnny
That
Depp.
film based off of a book.
No,
What can it be?
it's about Vegas. What is it
I wonder
called?
what that is.
It is called not Leaving Las Vegas. It's called it's a trippy one where he's on like a drug trip and
Fear and Loathing.
Fear and Loathing. Okay,
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So Fear and Loathing, great example. Like it kind of has this like weird, trippy desert noir feel to it. Or even Leaving Las Vegas, this story of guilt and escape. But I think musically, a song like Burden in My Hand, it mirrors a lot of those. It's lighter in tone, I think, but it's just as emotionally heavy on a lot of levels. And I've always loved the song because I think it showed a maturity in the band that I hadn't seen from them before. It showed an evolution towards more acoustic textures that we hadn't seen in the same capacities at that particular point in time. Yes, this obviously was a big hit at the time, but for me, Soundgarden wasn't that ship for this whole it had kind of sailed a little bit post Kurt Cobain's death. So 1996, this song comes out, and I think it proves that Soundgarden could still thrive beyond that wave, that grunge wave, if you will. So I think it was really important for the band's legacy in that respect. Lyrically, I think it's among Chris's best. I think it's like really like just deeply that human experience is really captured on a lot of levels. I also think it marks this transition point between like that hard-edged experimentation that we saw on Super Unknown, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. But this, I think, was more introspective. It was more like songwriter driven. He talked about Euphoria Morning. There was you could see Chris all over this, and it's a path that Chris would follow solo moving forward.
Could see, that record. You could see where Euphoria Morning came from.
Exactly. So I think in the same ways that Deep Six for you was kind of like a precursor and a foreshadowing of what was to come. For me, Burden in My Hand was a lot of that too.
We may hear more about that song later on in the show. But for now, I'm going to stay chronological, and I'm going to go to Loud Love. This was the song that, for me, put them on the top of the independent mountain. Like, everyone had been hearing about this band. We had All Your Lives, we had Hunted Down. But Loud Love was we've kind of outgrown this pond. We need to be released into bigger waters kind of song. And it's got some of the hallmark Soundgarden tricks, if you will, or soundscapes, the way that the guitars interact with each other, Matt's driving groove. You've got Chris's dynamic shifts into this transcendent, strong, memorable chorus. They flirted with these things across many songs prior, but I think a lot of other tracks pre-Bad Motorfinger never quite nailed all of those things. And Loud Love was, for me, the best showcase of this at the time. And it put Louder Than Love and Soundgarden kind of in the front of a national audience. I mean, this was their first national tour, was on the back of this record. And I think one of the reasons why is because Loud Love was so strong. I think with A&M behind them, they were able to put that out there and say, hey, everybody, this is the second phase of Soundgarden. You could almost say that Loud Love was kind of like the Rudolph of the gang of reindeer songs, if you will, that they had at that point.
What a riff in that song!
Incredible riff.
I mean, the riff is like fuck, man. You're again, not to interrupt you, but you listen to the riff in that and how that song starts off, and you get the guitar
feedback, and he's pulling, and it's like a circular.
You're getting this setup, and then that fucking riff kicks in. It's like, here we go.
But the way that he and Kim are doing different things, and then and Chris, I hadn't heard Chris elevate or dynamically shift within a song like he does in this song prior to that. I think he was still finding his way in a sense. I mean, he was crushing it along the way, but this was one of those markers in the sand where it's like, ooh, this dude can do that too? Interesting. And it just so happened to be on their first major label with their first national tour. And all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, people are going to really pay attention now.
Well, listen to the middle section, that whole bridge section, man. The timing is so wacky. And again, it's just like, and the reason why I say that is because that song I've been listening to it a lot I won't give away stuff right now, but there's things going on in that song. It's like, what the fuck were they thinking? when you're coming up with especially the chord progression, and it's a conversation I had with Kim actually, and because I was like, dude, we got to talk, man. I've got questions, man. It's a killer song, man. And sorry to interrupt you, but that riff is on.
No, it's great, and that's the thing is like you can start seeing, as Paul was talking about, Burden being kind of like I can see where Chris is going. This for me, looking in hindsight at least, I can go, oh, I see what the quirky, weird shit and some of the weird time signatures and some of the dynamics that are on Bad Motorfinger and Super Unknown and Down the Upside. I see them planted here, and it's got a killer chorus. And it's like, okay, tentpole moment number 2 for me was Loud Love. Let's go to your third choice, my friend.
I'm staying on Ultramega. Okay.
All right.
I'm staying there, and it's Beyond the Wheel.
Mm-hmm.
That song introduced the world on what Chris can do vocally and how high he could get.
Yeah.
And he unleashed fucking vocal fury on that song, and it was like, all right, world, I'm Chris. And he just I mean, that's the first song where you heard Chris go, holy shit, that's Chris. And when you look back at it now in their discography, one of the things I was thinking to myself when presented this challenge, the first thing I said was, well, what was Chris's coming out party? Which song was his coming out party? And I was like, it's got to be Beyond the Wheel. It's got to be, because one of my favorite songs. And does anything predate that where Chris is really ripping and where Chris is unleashing? And again, when you talk about Loud Love, listen to Loud Love. You're hearing elements of Beyond the Wheel, of him, just the way he's singing the choruses of Loud Love. It's like he's starting to find himself as not only a musician but as a vocalist. And then he's
the confidence to go there, to try it.
He's trying it, and he's feeling more comfortable. He's feeling himself, and he's now turning his voice into a really finely tuned instrument. And I think that song really defines who Chris is as a singer and who Chris would become as a vocalist.
Solid choice.
Very
Paul,
solid
number
choice.
3.
I'll go to Bad Motorfinger on this one. I remember listening to a Pearl Jam bootleg, and it's right before Black on this particular show, and Eddie's just kind of like riffing, and I'll never forget
I know where
it.
you're gonna go.
Yeah, he's like, I'm looking California, feeling Minnesota. And I remember thinking to myself, how cool is it that he's just like dropping that here on a tour? And it always stuck with me in the sense that song to me on so many levels was like, it just captured this like paradox that was this band on a lot of levels, where I mean, these guys had swagger, man. I mean, Soundgarden could crush, and so they've got this really amazing riff rock going on, but at the same time, there was like layers of self-doubt in so much of what Chris was writing about at the time. And I think that this like disillusioned self-awareness in the early 90s was important. And what I loved about this song at the time was I was like really trying to like reconcile, like, how can I like Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, like all these different band, Metallica, Black Album, all this stuff at the same time? You know what I mean? Because it all sounded so distinctly different, and people were calling all of it, what a time to be alive. But they were calling not Metallica, but everything else they were calling grunge. And to me, none of it sounded the same. And so I feel like not only is this like a signature live track for the band, but it's also like a slower, just grinding groove. And I feel like it really distinguished and differentiated Soundgarden away from like the punkier stuff that was going on with Nirvana and some of these other bands at the time. So I thought it was important that it kind of ground them in their own sound. And it also separated them from some of like the bluesiness and the Led Zeppelin esque tendencies that we saw with Pearl Jam too, which I obviously love. So for me, this song just really symbolized how Chris's lyrics could like really become introspective and turn like a personal contradiction into something that was really profound and poetic. I just really have continued to appreciate the song as it has aged. And I think that when you view it within the context of when it was released and you stop looking at it as like a greatest hit and you actually like can bring yourself back to that time, I think it there's a brand new appreciation for it for folks maybe who are watching or listening who maybe don't remember when it came out or weren't around or old enough to have appreciated it at that time. So when viewed through that lens, I think it's a tentpole song.
What a riff. Again, what a riff.
Yeah.
I mean, what a fucking riff.
As a music, I call myself a musician in quotes because I can play an instrument, but I'm not a musician like Mark is. But like when you're learning to play guitar, there's some riffs and some songs that just I want to learn that riff. I want to learn that riff. Gung, gung, gung. I was airplaying it while you were talking about do 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 wee do 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 do. It's so fun to play. It's so easy to play, but it's a thick. You said muscular. It showed a different side of them. I thought. I think lyrically, like you said, you start to see more of Chris kind of opening up in the way of looking inside. I mean, if you read Total Fucking Godhead, you talk about his family life and with his relationship with his dad, and like he started. I think you can start to see him reconcile that externally a little bit on this record, and obviously he opens up more and more as we go. But this is definitely a turning point song. It isn't my choice. It's a hell of a choice. I'm going to go with Jesus Christ Pose off the same record.
Fucking goddamn you again, man.
Solid. That was on my list, and I knocked it off.
It looks like you're sharing
one. And I'm glad I did that. Otherwise, all three of us would be talking about the same song.
That's true. That's true. I'll try and keep it brief, Mark, so you can wax. Listen. One of the biggest things for me about this song is it was the first song that all four members of the band wrote together. That is huge.
And the last.
Is it the last? God damn. Well, as you know, Mark, it started with bass. Started with Ben Shepherd just doodling around. Matt walks up. What's that? What are you doing? Okay. Kim walks up. Okay, what the hell's going on? And they just kind of jam this thing out, right? And then you get Chris. Okay, I'm going to take this home tonight. I'm going to add another couple of sections. I'll create some room for vocals. And holy shit. Chris was really starting to harness the power and the range. I mean, you talked about Beyond the Wheel. I thought at this point, holy Jesus. And for a massive, massive audience, it's the first single off Bad Motorfinger. I think this was the brightest spotlight to date for them as a band and as a vocalist.
Agreed.
Kim even saying as much. They jammed out and Chris took it home, like I said. And when they brought it back the next day to hear what Chris had done with what they were jamming out on, Kim said, holy shit, this crazy, insane car wreck is now a song. Think about all the different riffs, all the drum patterns. I mean, everything that you think about when you think about a Soundgarden song. What's in a Soundgarden song? Well, crazy, ascending vocals and dynamics and range and power and restraint at the same time, and then chuggy guitar riffs, and Matt Cameron being like an octopus, and Ben just rumbling through the whole entire. This is that song, all in one song. This is the first time I think that they put everything together into one. I mean, you get 3 out of 4 of those things, and you got a great song. They got 4 out of 4 here for me. So I think. By the way, on top of that, the music video, it was played on Headbangers Ball and MTV, but like it had some backlash because.
I remember that like it was yesterday, man.
People were calling in, how dare you, the Jesus dabba-dabba-doo. And so, like, if you're a kid and you hear about a music video or a song that your evangelical neighbors are not liking, you're going to go seek it out even further. So it just adds to the lore, you know? Show me the Jesus Christ pose, my friend. So for me...
look at the mural in Seattle of Chris. I mean, it's... I've seen so much artwork of him in that pose, and it's...
Well, it's funny with this song... This song changed everything. Literally changed everything. It was the first song. It was the first release, the first single that came out before the record dropped. Headbangers Ball. I remember like it was yesterday hearing this song for the first time going, what the fuck? And I'll never forget my mom, God rest her soul, you know, Brooklyn Catholic church going.
Can't imagine.
Oh man, Jesus Christ! What? No, I'm like fucking. This is awesome, Mom. Right? And but listen, the song's perfect, and it's as far as you have songs of significance, and then you have favorites. Now, this is a top 5 favorite of mine, just because it brings me back to number one. It's on one of my top 5 favorite records of all time, which is Bad Motorfinger. There's no secret there. But it introduced the 90s. It came out in 90. It really introduced what was going to come. Pre Smells Like Teen Spirit or Nevermind or 10. This really sets the launch pad of all of it, and the whole culture, the whole pop culture, the whole scene. And we're not even talking about music. Now you're going into social elements. You're going into how people dress. It really set the 90s, I believe, in motion. This song.
It was a powerhouse. It is a powerhouse.
And Paul covered it earlier. As Soundgarden was going, Chris was finding more of himself. He was finding Chris the songwriter, and you hear those tensions in Down on the Upside. You're hearing, the band broke up after that record, because there's this going on now. Is that a Chris Cornell solo record with Soundgarden members jamming on it? Is it, what is that record? And, there were those tensions there. And, Pretty Noose is one of my favorite songs too. I love that song.
That's fantastic.
And you listen to that, and it starts with Jesus Christ Post. And there's a reason why the 4 of those guys, there's very few songs with all of them with writing credits, because Chris is becoming who Chris was.
Right.
And to have a song that is as good as Jesus Christ Posed with the 4 of them, all contributing to that song is, didn't happen often.
Special song. You're number 4 now, Paul.
I'll tell you, it's really tempting for these last 2 just to dive into that super unknown pool, because there's so many to choose from there. And as tempted as I was to do that, I wanted to challenge myself and say, what if you could only pick one song off Super Unknown? What would it be? Which is what I did. And so I'm going to stay on Bad Motorfinger, and I'm going to hang with Rusty Cage here for a minute.
Okay.
So this song,
what a tease.
I say that because I think it showcased the band's like their technical mastery and the way that they could blend like that musicianship with like just raw energy. Like one of my favorite metal bands right now is a band called All That Remains, and I marvel at like the technical of just the guitar playing. You know what I mean? Just the progressive like shifting rhythms and twists, the guitar riff twists and all that stuff. But that stuff was showcased in 1991 on Rusty Cage, And then you've got, Chris's just like primal scream towards the beginning of the song. And I just think it's when you have Johnny Cash come out in 1996 and say, I'm going to cover this. It's, you know what I'm saying? Now he did 9 Inch Nails Hurt as well. I think it's meaningful when an artist like that is like, wants to transform a song like that into like a country goth piece. You know what I mean? I think that it speaks volumes about the reach of a song like that. I think it's the perfect example of this band's capacity and more importantly, their ability really to kind of like balance those progressive structures that I was talking about that I appreciate so much in the music of a band like All That Remains today, but also with like that urgency, like that raw, just like immediacy to it. And I think that when as a musician, I can only imagine how much appreciation somebody who like understands those chord structures would listen to that and say, wow, like there's a lot going on in this song. And I don't know if people listening truly appreciate it, but I also think that Timing, yeah, it's all about timing. And Matt Cameron's like the master when it comes to like, timing that isn't necessarily always as conventional. But I would also say that this song, and I'll end on this, it really did help establish these guys as far more musically sophisticated than I think most of the other grunge bands of that era. It's not just power chords, you know what I mean?
Wow. I put this song alongside Jesus Christ Pose, and I was kind of struggling for a brief moment, because we're limited to 5, so it was very difficult, and I had to get a super unknown myself. But Rusty Cage and Mark, because that was the first song y'all put out in July. It's so technical. It's so technical, and
I know.
And props to Charlie for doing his best Matt Cameron in the most Charlie Bronte way, and to be in sync with him, you, and who played guitar again on this one?
Bill from Mastodon.
That's right, Bill from Mastodon. So
this is not a band. This is not a song you expect to see covered in a bar. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Because to your point about covering, I had a band in high school and early parts of college, and we're just covering like Metallica songs, whatever, Alice in Chains.
You were humbled by the song, I imagine.
Well, here's my point. My buddy who played guitar with me was like, we should do Jesus Christ Pose. And I go, dude, there is nothing on Bad Motorfinger we're going to cover. A, I can't sing it. 2, we can't play it. And 3, we don't have Matt Cameron. So it's not happening, bro. I love the song. It's not happening. And this is another example. It's just so technically sound. And Bad Motorfinger songs for me was such an elevation of what they had built on the previous couple of records. I was like, oh my God. Rusty Cage is a fantastic choice.
Yeah,
now,
Mark, I kind of want to ask you though. I mean, it's because you said none of the songs you guys have done are in your 5 for this conversation. So what was it about this song that spoke to you that you wanted it to be one of the ones that you did for this project? If you don't mind me asking.
It's, again, my list is based on what I believe made Soundgarden Soundgarden.
Mm-hmm.
My selections here are what made Kim, Matt, Ben and Hero, the bass players, and Chris. They set whether it's blueprints or recording things. I might have some inside info that most don't, but from my perspective as a fan, because I am a fan first. I could hear things, like I was speaking of Beyond the Wheel. You can't find a Soundgarden song precursor that Chris does what he does vocally. You won't do it. So for me, it's like, well, there it is. There's his coming out party. So with Rusty Cage, it's the riff, man. I'm a fucking Sabbath freak. Too. I love Black
totally
Sabbath.
Iommi.
Right. Listen to the riffs on Bad Motorfinger, and in particular, Rusty Cage. That riff is fucking. It goes. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but they're battling Iommi and they're battling Sabbath as far as riffs go now. In my brain, we could put those guys in a room with Sabbath and they could go riff for riff. And I'm a riff guy. I'm a groove guy.
I think James Hetfield has something to say about that.
This is a Hall of Fame band now, right? So it's not a controversial statement.
Right.
It's a reason, and James has the greatest right hand in all of guitar playing history. That dude is a rhythm fucking machine. But as far as the riff, we talk about the riff.
Feel, swing.
I'm all about groove, feel, swing. What's this going to make me kind of just get into that Rusty Cage, man. And to me, it was, if Johnny Cash could turn it into, I believe you called it country goth.
It was like country goth.
God knows I wasn't going there. It was
back by the Heartbreakers. Oh, by the way.
Yeah. It was, it's a great song. And again, that record, top to bottom, it's one of my favorite records of all time. It's top 5, literally top 5 record of all time, period.
I'm going to do the thing where I say the obvious thing and say Black Hole Sun. I'll be that guy. There's no bigger or far-reaching
song. Can't go wrong.
Yes. Number 1 on the mainstream rock chart. Number 2 on the alternative play chart. A music video that still haunts me today. 30 years later. It was a song that Chris sent producer Michael Beinhorn on a whim. And Beinhorn was like, this guy is a fucking genius. Because like Chris was like, I don't know. Check out, tell me what you think about it. And Beinhorn was like, this is amazing. For me, it's the pinnacle of Soundgarden kind of tapping into the more eclectic side of Chris's brain, but also with some of like the greatest hooks in a rock song in a generation. And I think even the most casual music fan, they knew who Soundgarden was because of this song, and there was no escaping it for a while.
Yeah.
It won the Grammy for Best Hard Rock Performance in '95. It won the MTV Video Music Award for Hard Rock Metal Video in '94. It won a Clio Award for Alternative Music Video in '95. Number 63 in Guitar World's Greatest Guitar Solos of All Time. This song just has layers upon layers of elite skill, crafting, diving vocal melodies, come back up soaring, weird arpeggios with super thick, distorted and affected guitar. Like, how is that even in tune? It sounds so fucked up. And just gung, Matt's snare drum, like this thick, simple but thick. Dun. You can feel the rhythm. Just thinking about the song, it's an absolute. People, if you look at a song like Enter Sandman, you go, obviously. You might think it's overplayed. You might be tired of hearing it, but you know that song is one of the greatest rock songs ever to be created. I would put Black Hole Sun right in the fucking conversation.
Agreed. Which brings me to my number 5 song of all time on this list is Black Hole Sun.
Black Hole Sun. We had so many the same, me and you.
And I shared that with you, and I wasn't going to interrupt you and go, fuck, goddamn guy did it again.
Great mind, man.
But again, when you think of the 90s, you go back into time. There's a handful of things that go, Smells Like Teen Spirit, Black Hole Sun, Doc Martens, East Coast versus West Coast rap wars.
Yeah.
And
Jinko jeans,
cross-color jeans, flannels,
Tamagotchis.
But Black Hole Sun, but Black Hole Sun,
yes,
it makes the 90s fabric. Can you imagine everything I just listed without that song? Probably not, because again, that song defined a generation. And it came down. If you think about that song came out in 94. 94. You think about the movement or the grunge. I hate the word grunge, but you think about that movement. It was very short lived. You could say the 80s and Mother Love Bone and Green River and the Melvins and all this, and obviously Soundgarden, all this stuff going on in the latter part of the 80s. They all kind of came into their own in the early 90s. So if you're talking about 1990 to 1994, 4 years, there's a 4-year window in there where Pearl Jam released 10 verses. You had Bad Motorfinger, you had Super Unknown, you had Temple of the Dog, you had Alice in Chains Facelift, and I'm just rifling them off. You had the Mother Love Bone record, you had Apple. And that, I'm just listing records literally off the top of my head from 1990, that 4-year time period. And you think about that now. All those records that came out in such a short time frame and everything that was going on in the 90s. And to me, at the very top of that list is Black Hole Sun. There's not a song that tops that as far as, number one, Chris wrote it in 15 minutes. Literally 15 minutes he wrote the song. And as Jason was saying, he was going to his producer going, I don't know. I don't know if this is funny. He fucking knew it was good. I mean, you had to know. I mean, had to. That's genius level shit. All right. And there's a reason why they're being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And to take nothing away from any other song, I just don't know if we're having this conversation without that song.
You're right.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
And love it, hate it, sick of it, tired of it, doesn't fucking matter. The song's a classic. It's perfect. It shouldn't, at least in King Ultramega, it shall never be fucking touched. At least by me. I will have nothing to do with that. And it's the perfect song.
And by the way, I know that the guys in Pearl Jam were always, I don't want to say anti music video, because obviously they had one of the greatest of all time in Jeremy, but like how ironic is it that it's such an enhancer, because the music video is so good and so memorable that it multiplies how great a song it is in both cases.
Yeah.
Incredible piece of pop culture on top of it being a kick-ass song.
Well, think about that video for a minute.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's fucking freaky
Wild
shit, right? It's fucking wild.
I was scarred for
shit.
years, Mark.
But
I couldn't eat an ice cream cone for years.
Could you imagine that video being anything other than what it was or is?
I'll tell you this. Yes, that video is like art rock personified, with those like weird, distorted, twisted smiles and like this whole like apocalyptic tone thing going on. But when you told me how much you loved Abbey Road, side 2, I had a feeling you were going to end up going here, because there is like a Beatles-like chord progression to this song.
Oh, yes,
and I can
is.
see why that speaks to you.
Yeah. Well, listen. All right. So let's talk about Beatle chord progressions. Listen to Euphoria Morning.
Oh, well, yeah.
Listen to the chord progressions in a lot of those songs. They are so George and John. I mean, you listen to it, it's like, man, it's, and not to backtrack, but you could see where Chris was going,
Yeah.
And I don't want to say he was maturing. That's not the right word.
Just evolving.
Yeah, he's evolving as a musician,
Yeah.
and to me, this all goes back to All Your Lies, where he got off the fucking drum set and concentrated on being a singer-songwriter rather than a drummer that also sings.
Less is more, my friend.
Yeah, and you could totally hear the Beatle transition in Black Hole Sun. Last
choice here, Paul. What do you got?
Well, I had to pick one off of here, and I wavered. I was like a little ping. What do you call pinball? Basically, just going back and forth. I bounced off, fell off, laid off Black Days, bounced off Fresh Tendrils, which is actually my favorite underrated cut. But I ultimately landed. I landed somewhere unique in the sense that, Mark, you talked about this movement, right? You remember the Keep Austin Weird movement that was going on not too long ago?
Mm-hmm.
There's a precursor movement to that. And they didn't have to say keep Seattle weird. They were just proudly weird. And I don't think there's a song in the catalog that really exemplifies that more than Spoon Man. When you collaborate with a street performer, artist of Spoon Man, and you're bringing in spoon percussion and these like 7/4 time signatures, and that it's just an adventurous, fun, rhythmic song, but it's also like a celebration of what it means to be an outsider. To appreciate artistry beyond this mainstream. There's so much music at this time, especially with Vitology talking about commercialism and just the bastardization through the media of identity through the music that you're trying to create just to express yourself. And here, this band goes out there and it's like, let's celebrate artistry beyond that mainstream. And I just thought they did it in such a magical way. Like, it's ironic that it wins the Grammy for Best Metal Performance.
Yeah.
There's an irony to that. Everything I just said.
Didn't the Spoon guy come out to accept with them?
Spoon guy was there, yes.
He was there, right? Yeah.
But I mean, it really on so many levels just embodied, I think, Soundgarden's like Mark talked about, like, who is Soundgarden? Like, who is this band? What's their identity? They were rough. You know what I mean? They were rough around the edges, and intentionally and purposefully so. But I also think that they were very much rooted in that community. And it goes all the way back to Malfunction. It goes back to wanting to do Temple of the Dog in the first place. And quite frankly, like, they were very proud to be who they were and where they were from and celebrate that community. They were ambassadors of that community. And I think Spoon Man is the anthem for that theme.
You could very much argue, if you didn't know Soundgarden's story, and say, wow, Super Unknown. They were already on the up. They were a major label. They were pretty big at this point, especially in the alt rock scene. And wow, what a bold move to get a street performer and do a spoon solo. What? But like, I would imagine, and I don't know them personally. Mark, maybe you can shed some insight on this. But like, I would imagine they probably thought, well, that's just what we want to do. There's no like gimmick here. It's just a cool idea.
Knowing what I know now, number one, you can't imagine that song without the fucking spoons.
No. That's how fucking wild is that?
So that's number one. Number two, I think they saw this guy playing somewhere, and they go, "We're going to write a song with this guy." No, without even thinking about it, without even planning, or it was never
no pretense. Just like, oh, that could be cool.
They pulled it off.
It's an amazing song. Yeah. One of the most iconic Soundgarden songs and rock songs of the 90s.
And you got to admit, I will almost guarantee the three of I know for me, I did, but I would say the three of us here at some point in the 90s got our spoons out from our mouths.
I tried
to play it, right? Everyone tried. I failed at it, but I will guarantee you almost everyone listening or watching this, if they're a Soundgarden fan, have tried to play that with the spoons.
If they say no, they're lying. I see you. You're a liar. You did it.
I know I did. Not good.
Yeah, of course.
Not good.
All right, I'm the caboose here. It's a song already mentioned once, but I'm gonna put my stamp on it, and that is "Burden in My Hand." I think there are still so many songs, like I said, that I could choose with this last one, but I'm gonna go with this one because I think it more successfully reached further into like kind of new territory while still remaining, still maintaining the modern rock flair that Soundgarden had become known for, across Down on the Upside and even Super Unknown. Man, those hi-hats, and then Chris coming in, follow me, like that first 8 seconds is so iconic.
Yeah, and
then you get the plucked, resonator guitar, like. Chris is playing a resonator guitar. So it's so far outside of what you'd expect to hear from Soundgarden, even just from a couple of years prior. They were really mining new territory that would eventually, and we were talking about this before, and you said too, Paul, what we would hear on Euphoria Morning or Carry On even. You mentioned it, Mark. Is this Chris plus Soundgarden? There's obviously elements of that, and obviously that was part of the struggle that ended up, dissolving the band shortly thereafter. But I think for this track, I think lyrically, and Paul, you mentioned it, it is kind of peak Cornell, detailing, a haunting vision about a guilty conscience and murder. And
it's like Hunter S. Thompson, man. It's just cool stuff.
I think few songs allow the listener to so beautifully kind of get inside the creative mind and the personal troubles of Chris than in this song. And it's just so goddamn catchy. So talk about like the next step. I was talking about phases earlier, phase 1, phase 2. I don't know what phase this is, but this is the song that made me go, ooh, what could the next thing be? Because there's some weirder shit on Down the Upside, and I find it so interesting. But this was like the almost like the bait to go way over there. They're like, hey, we know we got Pretty News on here. That's kind of like the old stuff too. But this is like the kind of the bridge song. It's like, we're going to give you all the shit you love about a great Soundgarden song, but there's a little bit of something weird here that you haven't heard before, and it's got a great hook. And it's like, I'm buying.
It's funny, man. I didn't pick anything on this record because that record essentially broke up the band. Right. And for me, as a fan and as a musician, it was like, fuck, this sucks. Right. And yeah, it led to Euphoria Morning, which is a brilliant record. I love that record. And it led to other things. And it ultimately led to, whether it's Audio Slave or more Cornell records, and then them coming back to each other in 2012 for King Animal.
King Animal, yeah.
Right. But that record, I don't want to say it's sad to me, but it's just like, there was tensions going on within the band, where they were finding themselves, whether it's Beyond the Wheel, Matt's coming in, Jesus, it's just that, all good things must come to an end, they say. right? And when you take the times of what's going on in the 90s, 96, pivotal year, right? I spoke about 90 to 94. 95 is things are, you're in the middle of the decade. 96, you're on the downside of the decade. And then you get into rap rock stuff, you get into Creeds of the World, you're getting all this stuff.
Pop punk,
Spice Girls, all that stuff starts coming out.
All this stuff is happening. And, Kim, Matt, and Ben were thinking one thing, and Chris is thinking something else. And, Chris is a metal. Kim's he's a metal guy. He's like into the crazy fucking metal shit too. Right. And you could just hear, I don't want to say fighting, but you could hear that tension going on, and it makes the record great. And I love that record, and Burning in My Head is one of my favorite songs. But it's sad, man, to think what would come after that record.
Do you think, final question before we go, do you think Soundgarden gets in if Down the Upside isn't made?
Yes.
Just on virtue of their stuff before that. Yeah.
Okay.
Black Hole Sun, man.
I would tend to agree. I just think that there is so much great stuff that gets often overlooked on Down the Upside because there's such a cloud, even though, Pretty News was a big hit. Burden was a big hit.
Yeah.
Blow Up the Outside World was a big hit. But there's so much unique stuff sprinkled throughout there that I think people kind of forget about some of that sometimes. And I would argue you should go listen to it because it's really interesting. And if you're the kind of person who is open-minded, and for a Pearl Jam crowd out there, as you got through, you talk about 96, No Code, and that was very intentionally made to say, we're going to do something over here now. If you want to join us, great.
The difference, Jason, is that band, I shouldn't say there's difference, but it's unique how both Pearl Jam and Soundgarden found themselves coming apart at the seams in the same year on those same records, right. No Code and Down on the Upside. I think there's a fascinating parallel.
Take it a step farther. What is 96 in Alice in Chains world?
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, they essentially broke up because.
So think about that now.
Lane goes, I'm going to go over here.
Add that element into 1996, and some fucking weird shit going down, man. And whether it's too fast, too soon, we were speaking of the Beatles earlier. Look at all the fucking music they did in essentially 7 years. Right. It's insane.
Mind-boggling, yeah.
Right? Look at all the music that came out between 90 and 96 from that Seattle scene.
Yeah.
It's never happening again. And I don't believe it's going to happen again. So does Soundgarden make the Hall of Fame without that record? I believe if you write Black Hole Sun, you're making the Rock and Roll Hall because it's that perfect.
We're running into overtime here, but I want you to quickly run through your 5 real fast, Mark.
Sure. We'll go with All Your Lives from the Deep Six. Mm-hmm. Hunted Down, Beyond the Wheel, Jesus Christ Pose, Black Hole Sun.
Paul?
Spoon Man. I got Rusty Cage. I had Outshined. And I also had Burden in My Hand and Hands All Over.
And I had Hunted Down, Loud Love, Jesus Christ Pose, Black Hole Sun, and Burden in My Hand. Everybody out there, I hope you enjoyed this. And if you are a fan of the Soundgarden, as I assume that you are, please go ahead and go into the description of this video because we got links to the King Ultramega stuff. We've got the 4 variants of the new 12-inch 2-song, The Day I Tried to Live, and Rusty Cage. So go buy one of those. Eventually, Mark assures us that there will be a really nice big release with all of them, right? Right? Oh, yeah. Wink, wink, wink.
Oh, no, that is happening.
All right, good. So you can whet your appetite with one of those variants or all 4 of them.
Funny story. This cover was supposed to be the record cover for that said record, and I said, "Nah, man, this is a perfect cover for a 2-song EP." So we
now you got to make something new for the full length.
Yeah.
So You just made yourself the same amount of work. You just kind of flipped it around. Yeah. Tell us in the comments what your 5 tentpole, let's call it, Soundgarden songs are. And most importantly, I think we can all agree, kudos to the members of Soundgarden for finally getting in to the Rock Hall of Fame. Hero, Matt, Chris, Ben, and Kim. And we'll even give a little shout out to Jason and Scott for helping the boys along the way.
Yeah.
So, Mark Menghi, Metal Allegiance, King Ultramega, thank you for joining us again, my friend.
I appreciate you guys. And again, I'm sure we'll be speaking in a few months again.
If you enjoy this stuff and you're here on YouTube, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. And if listening only, Paul Ghiglieri.
Rate, review, subscribe on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Feed that algorithm. Feed it because we need it.
And if you want to donate to St. Jude, link is below. You can get a whole bunch of cool stuff. Pod Shop, Patreon below as well if you want. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. And until we do, you've been listening to or watching
The State of Love and Trust.